Hi, my name is Leandro Facchinetti, and let's write some code together, shall we? What we have on the menu to do today is two different things. The first is that I just got this new equipment for recording and streaming. I got a new computer, I got cables so that I can not use the Wi-Fi, and now I am able to stream, which is interesting. I have never done that before, but I wanted to do it for a long time. So that's the first thing we are going to do. We are going to be streaming for the first time instead of pre-recording the videos. Though my kinds of videos are already kind of streams anyway. It's just that I didn't have the equipment to do it live. But I never did any heavy editing or anything. It's just mostly me writing some code or me showing something that I did. So that's the first thing. We're going to test this idea of streaming, and this stream is private because if things go well, I'll make it public, but if things don't go well, then I can just not share the video ever, and you will never be able to see this. The second thing we have on the menu today is actually the thing that we are going to code. So the idea is, you have this video that has multiple streams. So you have a video file, you have multiple streams of video in that video file, or that's more common, you have multiple audio streams in that video file, and you want to explode that in the Reaper timeline. So you're editing the video in Reaper, and you want to explode those different streams because Reaper cannot handle multiple streams of audio in the same file. So you want to explode that into different tracks so that you can edit and you can mix the different tracks together and whatnot. Now, Reaper doesn't do that. So the way we are going to do this is we are going to call, what we are going to do today is a ReaScript that does the explosion of this file for you into multiple different tracks so that you can edit in Reaper. And you're going to do that from within Reaper itself. And of course, Reaper cannot do that. So the way this is going to work is that we are going to do a ReaScript that calls a command line tool, that ffmpeg, that's the usual command line tool for working with audio and video, and then it's going to produce several files that we are going to import back into Reaper. And of course, it sounds like a simple idea. It's just a matter of going into the command line, calling a certain command, and then pulling the things back into Reaper. But these things always takes time to do. So in this session, we'll see how far we can go. I don't have anything prepared except for I kind of already have an idea of how this is going to look and how this is going to work, but I have nothing really prepared, no sample code already written, and we're just going to do it live because there are some people who wanted to see this, and oh, so look at that. It seems like my stream is not synced. So I have another computer here from which I am doing stuff, and it's not sending the signal to the main computer. So okay, I'll figure this out and I'll continue in a moment. No, still the same issue. I wonder if I have to restart this instance of OBS from which I am streaming. Okay, we'll see. Okay, I think the problem fixed itself when I tried to look into the source. Well, first stream, these things happen. Okay, so what we are going to do is that ReaScript that will look at a video file and look at all the different streams in the video file and explode that into the Reaper timeline. And I have not prepared any code for this. I have a vague idea of how this is going to go. The first thing we need is a video file that we can work with, a sample video file. And the canonical example of this, at least that I can think of, and I think that many people who need this feature also have a similar scenario situation in which they are working. The situation is they're recording something using OBS, which is what I'm doing right now. I'm streaming using OBS. So you're recording something into OBS, and you may be streaming as well, but when you are recording, you record multiple streams. One is your microphone, the other is the sound that comes from your computer, and there may be other sources as well. So you are recording all this in REAPER, in OBS, and each one of these audio sources are a different stream of audio in the produced file. I want to generate one of these files, so I'm going to open, and this is something that may break the stream as well. We are learning as we go. But the thing is, I'm able to open multiple instances of OBS, saying open app new instance OBS. OBS app. Oh, come on. Applications OBS. Unable to find an application named. Oh, I guess the order of the commands is wrong. So open a new instance of the app OBS. And it says that OBS is already running because of this stream that I am doing. But I'm going to launch a second instance. And it seems like I'm losing the connection from the first computer all the time. That is weird. It's back now. Yeah, so now I should have two instances of OBS, one from which I am streaming, the other on which I'm going to do this test video that will have multiple channels. So I'm going to create a new profile. I'll call it remove me or whatever. I don't need this, and remove as well. So now I have a profile and a scene collection that I can work with that won't break everything else. So I'm going to produce one of those files with multiple streams, from one video stream, two audio streams. The video stream will be, I think it's video capture device. That is the webcam. Okay, allow that. So, hi, this is the first, which is my webcam, which is not the same as my camera. That can fill in the whole screen. And I'm going to add one audio input capture that will be the microphone. The built-in microphone will be source number 1. And then another video output capture, which will be black hole, the thing I use to capture audio from my computer. So now I'm capturing two different audio sources. I can come here to the advanced audio properties. They can send, send the different sources to different places. So black hole is only going to go to track 2. So what I call stream, that's ffmpeg's lingo. But here in OBS, it's called different tracks. Now, it's important to note something. When speaking of, I guess this looks better. So when speaking of different sources or streams or tracks, I'm not talking about multi-channel. I'm not talking about 4 channels of audio versus stereo or something like that. No, I'm talking about different streams of audio. So they are different sources in the case of this recording that we are doing now, but it may be different. If, for instance, in movies, you would have one soundtrack, which is the original language in which the movie is recorded, and if the movie has been translated to other languages, then these other streams would be the other languages. They are not usually just different channels. They are not just surround sound or something. No, they are different sources with different material. Okay, so that's what we have now, and we have this setting that is going to send different sources to different tracks. And now I can configure the sound recording. So let's go through all of these. The output needs to be advanced to be able to record in multiple tracks. So I'm going to record 2 tracks I'm going to create a folder here for videos. Videos, there you go. So I'm going to create MKVs, which is a format that is capable of, no, this is too dark, that is capable of recording different audio tracks. And I don't really care about the encoder, but I'm going to use this one. I don't really care about the encoder because I don't care about the quality of the video at all. But anyway, I'm going to just leave this on the default settings, and I'm going to record audio with the default settings. The thing that I care about is this part. Now the audio can look like that, which is nothing special. The video can look like this. I don't really care. Okay, so now that I have this, I should be able to start recording here. And this made the connection between the two computers, the one that is the one I'm using and the one that is streaming, it broke the connection for a moment, but now this is recording in two different channels. So in this channel I have the microphone, and now I will make some noise with the computer so that it sends audio to black hole and gets captured over here. So yeah. So now I have some sound going to the second track as well. Then I can stop recording, and I suppose I can probably close this OBS instance, and I can close this terminal as well. And now let's look at the file that we produced. So where is the videos folder? Where did that go? Oh, videos went under movies. Don't really care. That profile is going to go away anyway. So videos, we have here a video file that has different streams. I have not installed, this is a new computer, as you can tell by all the warnings that pop up when I open anything. So I'm going to install VLC so I'm able to open this file. I have not installed VLC in this computer before. But what I have installed in this computer is ffmpeg, so we can jump ahead and do that. When you call ffmpeg with the input of a file, and you don't tell it what outputs you want, you don't tell it what to do with the file, by default, what ffmpeg does is it outputs everything it knows. So it outputs all the configuration with which it was compiled, and it outputs this, which is what we care about. So the inputs, you can pass multiple inputs when calling ffmpeg, so you could pass multiple videos, or in this case I can pass multiple times the same video, and they end up being different inputs. And then you could combine these videos in some way, like some kind of compositing in ffmpeg, but that's not the case that we are interested in. What we are interested in is we are only ever going to have one input in our script, which will be the file that you want to explode into the multiple streams. And that was the language I was using before. The language that OBS uses is tracks. But I'm going to use the language streams, which is the language used by ffmpeg. So VLC has finished installing, which means that I can open that file now using VLC. And we'll look at what the different tracks look like, or different streams look like. Open the file. Start recording here. Okay. And so this made the connection between the two computers, the one that is the one I'm using and the one that is... Okay, so you can hear my voice now because I am using audio track number 1. What you will not be able to hear is me clicking on that thing that made a sound on the computer. To black hole and gets captured over here, so yeah. But you don't hear that because it is in audio track number 2. So now, if I go to audio track number 2 and play the video, you don't hear my voice. But when I go to that part of the video, you're going to hear the blips. Yeah. So that's what I'm talking about. This is a video that has two different audio tracks. It's not multi-channel. And here in ffmpeg, it's telling us exactly that. There are three different streams. One is video, two are audio. And the audio tracks are, just regular stereo tracks. So each one is a stereo track overall. There are 4 channels, but they are in 2 different streams. Our goal is to have a file like this in the Reaper timeline. So we are going to have here this example file in the Reaper timeline. Oh, we could not import that. It's probably because I installed VLC after I have already opened Reaper. Because Reaper is supposed to work with video files through VLC. Yeah, so now I'm able to import this. And here in the Reaper timeline, I don't have all my settings configured for Reaper, so I'll kind of be all over the place when manipulating things in Reaper. But anyway, here in Reaper, I have just the first one, just the first track. That's what Reaper opens. If there is a file with multiple tracks, Reaper is going to show you the first track. So I can play that, and it's going to be my voice. And also I probably have video here. Yeah, video window here. Different channels. So in this channel I have. So that is it. That is a file that I want to. That's an example file that is perfect for what I want to do. And what I want to do now is have some way to explode this. And that's what currently does not exist, and that's what we are creating. So the idea is that at the end of this project, there will be an action that we can call from here that will take this item, explode it into different tracks that are all these 3 different sources. So even if and which is not the case for this example, but even if your file has multiple video streams, it will explode the video streams into different files as well. So there are many different things we have to do. We have to figure out from within Reaper, from within the ReaScript, we have to figure out what is the source file that we are working with here. Then we have to call ffmpeg to figure out what are all the different streams in that file. Then we will call ffmpeg to explode the original file into multiple files. And then back into Reaper, we will create items in different tracks. You'll probably have to create tracks so that we can create items in the tracks that will contain the different files that we had created. That's the game plan. It's probably going to take a few streams for us to get this completely right. Let's get started. Let's start with, what is this? I'll open System Preferences and make VLC happy. Okay, I'm going to make the screen blank while I type in. Okay, so next, so from the command line, I want to explode this file into multiple files just so you know what the task the ReaScript is going to do under the hood. So I have already investigated this in the past, and I made some posts on the Reaper forums on which people were asking for this feature that we are implementing now. So here is the command that you use to inspect the file. And this is the command that you use to extract a video, which is not the same command you would use to extract audio. We'll talk about this right now. So you call ffmpeg. I'm going to put my notes here on the side so I can refer to them. So you call ffmpeg with the file that you want to work with, and then you can convert it, or you can convert different streams from within the file. That's what we're going to do. We are going to map input number 0, which is the only one. We will only have one input. And then the streams are numbered 0, 0, 0, 1, and 0, 2. We will go with input 0, 0, which is the video. And then I'm going to output a file that has exactly the same name except for the extension, which will be MP4. MKV is a fine container for recording. It has all the advantages of not losing data if your OBS instance just crashes, but for most editors, I don't think it really matters for Reaper, because Reaper is using VLC under the hood, and VLC can take any kind of file really. But for most other editors, it makes sense to use MP4s. So that's what we are going to use. So we are going to output an MP4 that is the video without any audio associated with it. But then we also have to say what codec we want to use to read this. The existing codec here in this video is H.264, and the codec we want to use for video is called copy. You can guess what it does. It copies the stream. It does not try to decode and re-encode the video in any way. So it's going to keep the same encoder, the same pixel format, everything about the video, the same frames per second, the same dimensions, the same bitrate. It will just copy that stream. So you can think of the container, the MKV, as literally a container with multiple things. It's just going to take one of those things out and put it in a different file. So when I run this, it's super fast, though my file is relatively small, so it would be fast even if it had to decode and re-encode stuff. But it's super fast because it's just copying things over. Let's open this folder and see that there is an MP4 file in there. It's slightly smaller because there is no audio track. And I can open it with VLC. And I should not hear. Yeah, there is no audio associated with this video. It's just the video portion of the original file. Similarly, I can do the audio tracks. So the audio tracks are tracks 01 and 02. So let's do that. 01 goes to... And now, in this case, there is a gotcha. We could copy as well. And the original format of this audio is AAC. That's the default format for recording in OBS. And we could just copy, and we would end up with an AAC file. And that's fine. It's super fast. It's just copying what is already in the container and whatnot. But there is one issue I had with this when I was doing this process manually. I was recording in OBS and I was exploding the file manually on the command line like you are seeing right now. And then I would import everything into Reaper and I would edit. There was this very weird issue, and I don't know why it happened. But the issue was, when I had the audio and the video right next to one another, so I would have the two files like this. I can copy them over to Reaper, and I would have them like this as separate tracks. So you can see that the audio is here, the AAC file, and the video is here without any audio attached to it. So this is the MP4. So this is the video file, the one we converted first. So this is the original MKV. This is the video file. This is the audio file. And what happened is I would edit and I would take out some parts and I would ripple edit, which is not something I had configured right now, but I would delete some parts of that. I guess I can do it like this. So I can delete stuff and then the audio and the video would get out of sync. I have no idea why that happens. I suppose it has to do with the fact that AAC is a lossy conversion format. So maybe when decoding it, Reaper was messing things up in terms of timing. I have no idea. What I do know is that, first, Reaper doesn't have any issues if the file is a wave. Second, Reaper, and second, it does not take too long to convert an AAC into wave. The same is not true, by the way, of video. If you were to re-encode video, if your video was long, it would take a lot of time. But audio converts really fast, even long audio, like hours of audio convert in seconds on a relatively okay machine like the one I have. It's not the fastest. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So video is super slow to convert, but audio is not. So to prevent issues with Reaper, and because it is fast, so that's okay, we will not copy. And instead, we will convert from AAC, or really whatever format you have in the original video, into WAV. And to do that, we just don't specify the codec, and we specify WAV as the output format. And just by the extension ffmpeg is going to know that, oh, okay, so what I need to do now is to convert this from whatever is there into WAV. So I do that. And now I have in my folder a WAV file. And that's the one I actually want to use in editing. And I can do the same with the second track. So I have to name it differently, like so. And I can import this into Reaper and align this. And these are just the blips. Just when in the computer, I play the sound on the computer. And now these two tracks are the result of what we want. So in the end of the day, what we want to do with this exercise is to not have this track, but have this original track. And then it's going to explode into 3 different tracks. So it has this one as well, right over here. Yeah, so our exercise here is to take a file like this and use a ReaScript to automate the task of doing what we just did on the command line, which was to figure out the streams in the file, explode the streams in the file, and end up with something like this, 3 different tracks. So now we know the commands that we can run. We can run this one that copies the videos, and this one, these 2 different ones that don't copy, that re-encode the audio. And in fact, we can combine all these 3 commands in just one. So I'm going to copy this because now the commands are kind of getting complicated. Oh. I accidentally opened my email and I don't want to show it. So what we have over here is just the command that we had for video. Now let's find the ones for audio. So what you can do is just with the same input, you can specify multiple outputs like this. So with a single invocation, we can just do all the conversion we need. And you cannot see this. Okay, so this is the kind of command that we want to run. Maybe I can put it over here so it fits in one line. So now what we want to do is for every stream that is video, we want to have copy, and we have, oh, I messed up. So this is, now that's more like it. And I think it's a good convention to just put dash dash and then the number of the stream. So map the stream 0, because it is video, we are copying it with MP4 as an extension, and the other ones are audio, so they are going to have WAV as the extension and no copy codec attached to them. That is the adventure that we are going to embark in. I suppose that I can start the script now. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna jump into Reaper and go to the actions menu and create a new action that will be a new ReaScript. Access, okay. I will allow for this. Though I'm not really sure why Reaper would need, oh, I'm typing the password live. No, I'm not gonna do that. Okay, I'll be right. I have no idea why Reaper would need to see my keystrokes, but I trust Reaper. So I don't really want to quit and reopen right now. Let's just hope that Reaper doesn't really need my inputs, but I do trust it, so I allowed it. Okay, so I'm going to create here a directory under code. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to clone my repository for Reaper. So I already have a Reaper repository with all my ReaScripts in them, and I have not cloned it on this new computer. I can do that right now. So go into code, git clone that. And this repository is somewhat big, so okay, I thought it would take longer. Now I can open Visual Studio Code in the Reaper directory, and I can create my ReaScript in the Reaper directory under scripts. And I will call this one explode something maybe. I don't know, explode streams. We'll come up with a better name. In the actions menu, explode takes, explode multi-channel audio. Okay, so explode multi-channel audio or MIDI to new one-channel items. So this looks like a good name actually. So we'll mimic that name. So my explode items I'm going to remove, and I'm going to go into Visual Studio Code, and this one that I have over here I'm going to just cut and close and go into my new script, add this as a comment. I'm going to rename this. So I'll leave Visual Studio here on this side, and now I'm going to rename this. So I'll call this explode multi-track or multi-stream. Multi-track, because that's the language used by OBS. Yeah, multi-stream is more correct. Multi-stream / multi-track. File. It says audio or MIDI over here. So explode multi-stream multi-track media to new one stream / track files. It's okay. What happened? Oh, okay, the / became my directory. That's not the intent here. So I'll copy the parts of the name. To new one stream, one track. You cannot see this. Track files.lua. So that's the name I actually want. I will rename this file, so that's the file name that I have, and then I delete the folder, and there you go. Explode multi-stream multi-track media to new one stream one track media file. Okay. Yeah, because in the end of the day, we are not talking necessarily about video or audio. We are talking about media. You could have an MKV without any video and just a bunch of audio tracks, or a bunch of video tracks but no audio track. You could do that. So let's see if I like this one. Explode multi-stream multi-track media file to new one stream one track. Oh, track is repeated. Media files. Naming things is super important. So I have here as a comment, this is Lua code, and this is how you create a comment in Lua. So I have here the comment that is the command that eventually we would like to have something like this. Of course, the file names will be different, but the idea is there. So Now let's do the Reaper part of things, which is to figure out the source for this item. So for that we need to learn some, I also want to load this ReaScript into here. So now this is available here and I can edit this as well. And I like to develop my ReaScript. I guess this is probably not the way that everyone does this, but I like to develop my ReaScripts in Reaper and in Visual Studio Code at the same time because each has their advantages. In Visual Studio Code, I have all the editing features I like multiple cursors and being able to duplicate lines very easily and advanced search and replace with regular expressions and all sorts of fun stuff. So Visual Studio Code also has an extension that I have installed for formatting Lua code. So that's all nice. It's the best text editor, I think, these days. But this one in Reaper, it's much more limited, but it has nice things like auto-completion of, and this is somewhat recent, but it has auto-completion of the Reaper functions. So that's also nice. And I can very easily run the script from here just by clicking start or even by saving it. And the way this two-headed thing works is if I type something in Reaper and save, Visual Studio Code picks it up automatically. I don't have to do any extra work. And when I do something else in Visual Studio Code, I have to come in here and reload. And you see me doing this many times. So now we need to learn some things about the model, the object model of Reaper. So in Reaper, there is this API help that I will need to refer to all the time while I'm editing. And in Reaper, we have a way to get items which are selected. And that's something we're going to need to do because I need to know which of the items you want to explode into multiple tracks. So I have this item right here. It's the one that's selected. And I could have even multiple items selected and I would like to explode all of them. So maybe if you have many short clips that are multi-stream, you can explode all of them at once. So I have to figure out what are all the selected items. That's the name of this thing, by the way. This rectangle here with some media in it, it's a media item. And I already have many scripts that do this, and I could just jump into my previous scripts, find one that did something similar, and just copy things over. But for the interest of remembering things, and also because I'm doing this stream, I am going to relearn how these things work. I did not memorize the whole thing. So we are going to do this again by looking at the documentation and seeing how I would work with this. So maybe I will open the documentation on Chrome instead of Safari, because there are some things about the search and the search in Safari that I don't like, and I wonder if Chrome is any better. Media item, or maybe I will look for selected. So is track selected, set count. So I already have here a function that is interesting, count selected media items. If I have 0 media items selected, I know that I want to fail right away. So I can copy this over into here. And one thing that this editor in Reaper does not have is line wrapping. So that's annoying. Anyway, it gives me back an integer. So I can say local selected tracks or selected items count is equal to this. And many Reaper functions from the Reaper API take an argument which is the number of the project, and you could have multiple projects open as different tabs. I don't have that here, but you could have multiple projects open, and the one we want is the current one, the one that is we have open right in front of us when we call the action. So that's the project number 0. In many places you have to specify the number 0 for this reason. And I want to see this somehow. So there is the Reaper show console message, and it takes a string, so I can convert this to string And when I run this, I get the number 0 because there are no items selected. When I select an item and I save again, I see the number 1 because there is now one item selected. So that with that, we can say if the number of items selected is equal to 0, then return stops the execution of the script right here, because if we have 0 track selected, 0 media items selected, it means we don't have anything to work with. We need to have at least one media item selected to work with. So I just want to show an error message. Return is going to stop the execution of the rest of the script, and to show an error message, there is this message box MB, super poorly named function. But MB is what shows a message on the screen, and it takes a bunch of arguments. A message string, which is no items selected, a title, which is going to be error, and then a type of message box. There are different types, one that shows just the button OK, one that shows both the buttons OK and cancel, and so on. And you have to pass in the integer that represents that mode. So when I save again, I do have one media item selected, so this is not going to show me any errors. But if I deselect and then rerun this, error, no media item selected. I wonder what message I gave on my other scripts, because I would like to be consistent on this. So no items selected. It seems very similar. No items selected, error 0. Yeah, I'm able to recreate the stuff I did in the past. Awesome. Now we need to actually capture those media items. So let's continue our search here on the API and look for something like get selected media item. That seems promising. So now let's look at what this does. Get a selected media item, get a selected item by selected item count, 0 based. Project, as I said, the current one is 0 for active project. So that's a function that I want to use. I'm going to come back here to this. And now I need to know how many of these items I have. Well, I kind of already have here this counter, so I guess I will just assign this to a variable again. So selected media items count is equal to this. So I'm doing a simple extract variable refactoring here. And then I will, for selected media item index that starts on 0, it's 0 based, and goes up to the selected media items count -1, because in Lua the loop ranges are inclusive, but this is 0 based, so it will go up to the count -1. Do that, and then in here I can get a hold of the media item by using the get selected media item on the project number 0 and on the selected item number selected media item index. Good. So now when I save this, it will say no item selected, but if I select an item, it's going to do nothing, no error message, but it ran this loop on the media item. When you have a media item may have multiple takes. So let's recap. Our goal here is to get a hold of the source. The language that Reaper uses is that there is a media item, sometimes just called an item. The item has many takes. It may have one take or multiple takes. In this case, there is only one take, but if I was recording things, it would record into different takes on the same item. So one item, multiple, possibly, takes in the item, and each take is associated with a source. If I look at the source properties, it is the video, the actual material, the actual media. You want to get a hold of this because that's the one we actually want to call ffmpeg with. So let's traverse this structure of of objects. So I have a media item. I want to get a take. Let's look at the documentation for take. And there will be many functions that have to do with takes. But there will be one. Oh, so look at that. Set active take, get active take. So there may be multiple takes in a media item, but there will only be one active take, and that's the one I want. So coming back here to Reaper, and I'll get active take of this media item. Saving again, no errors. It means that this probably worked. So now I have the take. Now I want to have the source, which is associated with this take. So now let's look for source. And go to the beginning. So get media item take source. I think that that's the one I want. Get media source of media item take. Okay, perfect. So now I can copy this. Go back to Reaper. Local source is of the take that I currently have, which I also called take. So now I have this source. And from the source, get media source file name. So this takes a PCM source. Okay, so I think that's the one I want. So I'm going to copy this into Reaper, and now what do they call? They call it file name. I'll just call it file. And here I have to pass in the source, and I have to pass this buffer. In other languages, the Reaper API supports many languages. C++, Python, the EEL language that comes with Reaper. I'm using Lua. But in some languages, you pass variables by reference, and that's why some parts of the API have these buffers that should be references to strings, but that doesn't make sense in Lua. So in Lua, what we do instead is return the string, which is the file name. And for this part of the API is consistent in all these different languages, accepting the same parameters and returning the same, I suppose, returning the same results. But because we have to pass this, we just pass an empty string. This behavior is documented in the documentation in this big file. Somewhere in here, it explains this. So I can save this. And now I have all the file names that I want to work with. But since I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with them, and I am about to wrap up, I'm going to just print. So Reaper show console message of the file and a new line. Save that, and there you go. So I was able to capture the name of the file that I will want to call ffmpeg with. I think this is a good part to stop this stream. So what we did today is I'm trying out some new technology. That's fun. Also, we started the work on this new Reaper action that will explode a track or a media item that has multiple streams or tracks, most commonly audio tracks, but sometimes video tracks as well. And it will explode this item into multiple items. We already saw how to do that on the command line using ffmpeg. We know how to inspect the file to know the streams in the file. We also know how to explode, which command we need to call to explode that into the right formats. We know that we want to copy the source for video and that we want to convert the source for audio into WAV because that is better for Reaper for editing. And we already learned about the object model in Reaper that goes from media items containing multiple tracks, containing one source that has a file name, and we went through the whole structure, and we also looked at the documentation and the text editor. But we were able to capture the name of the file that we want to call ffmpeg with. Next, coming up, what we are going to do on the next stream that will probably also be private because I'm still testing things out, but on the next stream, what we are going to do is we are going to call ffmpeg from within Reaper and try to parse the results to get the number of streams in the media item. And then, yeah, that's probably going to take a while. We need to call ffmpeg with the right way, and we have to parse the output. And I don't know if ffmpeg has some facility to print things in a more palatable manner, or if we'll have to parse this kind of output over here. I mean, it shouldn't be the end of the world, but I mean, mostly what we're looking for is probably this string. So it's not the end of the world, but we need to do that, and I don't know how that's gonna go. And another thing is you have to think about distribution. So I think this will probably be many streams later, but we have to think about distribution because I would like to distribute ffmpeg with my tool if I can. Because I don't want necessarily to have people to have to install ffmpeg on their machines, or maybe even have to find ffmpeg installations in Reaper. I wonder if Reaper has some kind of facility here on the API to call ffmpeg. No, I don't think so. I wouldn't imagine it had anything like that. So we did that today. I also showed you how to create one of these files with multiple streams and why that would be useful. You would want to process your microphone differently from your computer audio. So I guess that about wraps it up. Thanks for watching this one, if you did, if I made it public. I hope you're having fun doing some live coding with me. I see you on the next one. Bye.